The Buffalo Bills might have just confirmed our greatest concerns. Bills Mafia, today I want to talk about a handful of things. What some of our coaching staff said yesterday in the press conferences and maybe why that's not the news we wanted to hear. I want to talk a little bit about our cap space. I want to talk about some of the injuries that Sean McDermott updated us on yesterday, specifically the decisions around Maxwell Hairston and some of the other guys on IR and even some of the suspended guys. But I want to end by giving you about 10 or 15 players that are buy low candidates, are potential high-end trade candidates, or even current free agents that could help this team right now that we could sign. But in all of it, my name's Colin. This is Crack the Table. We're all Bills, no breaks. I'm excited to be bringing you Buffalo Bills content. I hope today is a little bit more driven on our defense and driven on some content that's very, very relevant for us as fans right now. But today, let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about to set the stage is that our cap space is very, very limited. We are 30th in the NFL right now in cap space. Now, you could sit there and you could tell me that the cap is a mirage and it doesn't matter. It's not real. We can always have workarounds, but we know that the cap is real, and there could be times though that we take a player and we restructure the contract, we find some more money, or we put some void years on the end of a contract. We can make money by paying players prorated stuff this year that could be down the line. But we know, looking at our team, we've just made I think it was like 4 or 5 new contracts this last summer. Of course, James Cook, Benford, some of these other guys, and we just shelled out a bunch of money, and so that's leaving us with not a lot of money right now. But the bad news is that there is no decision yet based off the recent information that was given to us by Sean McDermott yesterday on Maxwell Hairston. Maxwell Hairston, yes, his eligibility window just opened up, but there's been no movement on that. I've been saying for a bit now that I think he's going to be back in week like 8 or 9 or one of those. Hopefully he maybe starts ramping up this week or in the bye week. But regardless, he's a rookie. He hasn't really played since July. He hasn't really played any football, any meaningful snaps. Yes, he's been around the team, but he hasn't been on the field gelling with this team outside of rookie minicamp and very early on in training camp. He hasn't been a part of football operations, so that's a big deal. We've also got some of these other injuries that we know that we're dealing with. TJ Sanders showed up on the injury report recently. He did not play on Sunday night against the Patriots. That's a blow. That was a loss to our team. Ed Oliver, hopefully we see him back this week against the Falcons. I think this game is going to be a much bigger and much more important game for Ed Oliver, especially with Bijan Robinson and him. But then, of course, Connor McGovern had the hand injury. There's also some other guys. Dorian Strong, just earlier last week, we find out that he was placed on the injured reserve. We don't know necessarily what's going to happen with him. I think he had some neck issues, but then also Matt Milano hurt his pec again. And again, we know that Matt Milano has just been riddled with injury. He re-aggravated his pec injury. We'll see if he gets back on the field. But in all of this today, our team did make some quick moves straight from the Bills PR here. We signed Balin Spector and Jalen Kimber to our practice squad. Frankly, I'm not sure it matters so much. I think more of just guys that we hope never to elevate. Just a couple other things. There's some another tweet by the Bills here. Balin Spector and Jalen Kimber. But the things that I want to set us up for as we are about to have this conversation about the cornerback room and some of our potential options is on Sunday, Christian Benford, terrible game. Trey White, again, terrible game. There was a couple passes caught by Stephon Diggs that really killed us. Trey White got absolutely roasted on one of those, and even Teron Johnson acknowledging this has been him and Christian Benford have been really, really bad when it comes to making tackles in the open field, especially after catches. Our defense, our cornerback room has just been really weak, and that's not great. But of course, some of these other stats, we're looking at the Bills defense so far, 28th in EPA or rush. And again, just a bunch of these things down the list. Last. We have somehow remained as a top 15 against DVOA, top defense in top half of the league defense in the NFL. But it's basically just because we had a couple good plays or a couple, basically the Jets game has been carrying us with this. But in all of that, I want to talk about a couple guys here that are notable free agents that are still out there that we can make a move on. Again, with the Bills cornerback room absolutely riddled with injury and riddled with guys who have not been stepping up, we potentially should make a move. Our biggest concern, and my biggest concern, and why I named the video was that our coaching staff is looking at, again, our cap space, what we have this year, and even potentially what we have next year. And frankly, we're 27th in the cap next year as well, which means basically we've got a total of like $10 million between this year and next year for a potential move, unless we're restructuring or unless we're changing some guys' contracts here. And so that's very concerning. My concern in all of that is that we don't make a single move to add any players. And that means we've got both of our rookie cornerbacks on IR out for right now. That means we've got an aging Trey White who Brandon Beane asked to come in and basically play as our cornerback 2 or cornerback 3 if you thought Maxwell Hairston would be the guy without his injury. But we didn't really plan well. Christian Benford, of course, got paid. Teron Johnson, I think we expected a better level of play out of him. Both Benford and Johnson have not been playing according to the contracts that we've given them or that we've the money that we've paid them. But 5 guys right here, actually 6 guys right here very quickly, notable free agents, and maybe one bit of note about them, just looking at some of my notes here, is James Bradbury. Again, maybe not the flashiest guy, but a guy who brings leadership and over 100 starts in the NFL. He had this leg injury in 2024, and you know, the risk right now with him is does he have anything left in the tank? Another guy, Caleb Farley. He's only 25. He's got the elite athleticism, but he's had, again, some back and hamstring injuries. That's going to be a common theme with some of these guys. He was a former first-round pick. His injuries have derailed him as a player. Kendall Fuller, right, is a plug-and-play guy who could potentially fit the zone system that Sean McDermott has and maybe offers some reliability. If his knee has actually fully healed up. I think he's been brought into a couple workouts with a couple teams, hasn't landed yet. A guy maybe who's an old reliable is Stephon Gilmore. Again, maybe the ultimate reunion story, but at 34, his asking price and maybe his declining speed isn't necessarily what we want. Again, I think we would really have to restructure a contract in order to get him in here on our team. Asante Samuel Jr., I believe he was with the Bears for a little bit, but as far as I can see right now, as is early October, he's not currently with the team. And again, he might have, he's an intriguing name that a lot of people are talking about that we could potentially sign, but he's recovering from a neck injury, just 25, 7 career interceptions. If cleared, he could be a long-term solution at cornerback 3 or cornerback 4 for the Buffalo Bills. But free agents rarely last, especially at this part in the season. You know, I saw 5 other teams, some of the beat reporters and some of the other teams. I was just looking up notable cornerback free agents, and I saw 4 or 5 other teams and their beat reporters were creating or writing articles on the need for their team to sign a cornerback. This is not just a need in Buffalo. This is a need across the NFL, but potential trade targets here. These are some crazy high-end guys that I think only one of them realistically in my mind could work. But of course, Sauce Gardner, interdivision trade, probably not happening, but Sauce Gardner would be like a dream scenario to add to our team, regardless of how you feel about him personally on the Jets. But the second guy I want to talk about is J.C. Horn, who is on the Carolina Panthers, who brings size and even physicality, though potentially some durability issues. And you know, he would add to the injury list. But you know what? He's a guy who I think long term could be a help or could be a solution. But again, there's guys like Marlon Humphrey. But you know what? I know the Ravens aren't doing well, so maybe there's some potential. Maybe if they lose another game or two, they start burning it down. Lamar Jackson's hurt right now. They haven't looked great. Maybe Marlon Humphrey could be a coverage scheme fit. But again, a $19 million a year cap, I'm not sure. That could be a major obstacle given our cap situation. But again, Denzel Ward is on the Browns. The Browns, again, I think in the next year are going to be a very good team. I'm not sure if they want to move on from Denzel Ward, but again, he remains virtually one of the maybe top 15 corners in the NFL. Yet he's still very much so in his prime. He's not an older guy, and yet prying him away from Cleveland, who seems to be an ascending team with a lot of draft capital, could be a very hard thing to do. But again, Beane historically has avoided splash trades midseason, preferring patience and development over time. But if I'm just being honest, I think that's why we're in the situation we're in now. But a couple other guys that people have been talking about, and two of them that I think are actually potential. L'Jarius Sneed, if he does end up hitting the trade block with the Tennessee Titans, could be, even though he's got a pretty big contract, could be a guy who we could justify the financial move to acquire him. But another one that many Bills fans are talking about is Tariq Woolen. We'll see if that guy ends up coming through. It's I just don't imagine again the Seahawks who are looking decent as a team. I believe they're 3-1, 4-1, 3-2, or something like that right now. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but again, the Bills don't have a ton of cap space to make a big move, and if they do make a move, they're at a point with how they've allocated their funds that they need to make a move that it's absolutely going to hit. They cannot continue to box themselves in these corners with mid-tier talented players. That's not to demean, that's not to belittle, but it is to acknowledge that we've made a lot of moves that have not panned out for us. A buy low, plug and play player that fits the franchise's DNA and culture could be massive. But who is that going to be? And the question for you today in the comments is who is a player that you're looking at that you would like the Bills to trade for or to sign? Maybe it's a notable free agent that I listed. Again, is there a guy right now that you're like, you know what? I am willing to leverage and risk putting ourselves in a corner to potentially acquire Tariq Woolen or L'Jarius Sneed, or is it even one of those other bigger name guys? Are you okay? I know it's not happening, but a guy like Sauce Gardner, J.C. Horn, Marlon Humphrey, Denzel Ward, is there a guy that's on your mind that right now that's like, hey, if this is going to push us over the edge, but it's going to have consequences in 27 or 28 or 29 because of cap, are you willing to make that? Are you willing to trade a first or a second or a third rounder? How many picks are you willing to trade for who? Let me know down in the comments. But in all of this, again, my name's Colin. This is Crack the Table. We are all Bills, no breaks, every single day, just processing through the life of our team, the Buffalo Bills. All that being said, go Bills. God bless. Peace out.